The Saline Solution presents Naked, the podcast series that pairs it all: real life experiences, how they were dealt with, and the lessons learned. Facing the person in the mirror always makes us check ourselves, accept our past, and guides us to make the decisions that are best for our peace of mind. Are you naked? Here's your host, Saline Griffith. This podcast is for adults 18 years and over.
Hello, what's up? It's episode 6. We've gotten to episode 6 in the Naked podcast. And in this series, we are doing self-love, mind, body, and spirit. So today, we're talking about minding my peace of mind. Yeah, we're talking about mindfulness, and I'm getting naked with Kaylin Bartholomew of Spirited Natural. Now, I'll tell you why I decided to do this particular series, because I embarked on a program recently with Kaylin, and it was for 21 days. You know, they say it takes 21 days to form a habit. So I decided to challenge myself because I have this habit of not seeing things through till the end. And I'm on a journey of really trying to call myself out on my bullshit. This is one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast as well. And acknowledging the things that I need to change in my life. And that is definitely one of them. Sticking things out and seeing it through till the end. So the program started off with 3 days of a detox and the remaining 18 days of a cleanse where I was only doing clean eating. I thought it was impossible because saline is a meat mouth. You can't have meat. Saline lives on coffee. This is how I know that I'm alive every day, because I need to have a cup of coffee first. You can't have coffee. Saline loves alcohol, as you know, and you can't have alcohol. So I am like, what? But I had to do it because I'm saying you don't want to start this thing and fuck it up. So you have to see it through till the end. This is going to take you to another level of your life if you do just this. Let me tell you all something. That program was one of the best decisions I made of my life. Simply because, yes, there were several benefits to acquire from doing a program of sorts. But for me, my biggest takeaway was the fact that I was more at peace. I was more present in my moment. And I had more energy, much more energy. I think I'll lose a little weight, I'm not sure, because I still see the little folds and thing now, but it's part of the journey. And I'm really enjoying the skin that I'm in. And I'm going to continue doing that. I'm going to get there eventually. So I'm not worried at all. But the conversation that I had with Kaylin is one that's very, very interesting. It's about mindfulness, and I do hope that you enjoy, because it really, really did a lot for me. And all I want is for it to do the same for you. My journey with Spirited Natural in terms of the detox and cleanse was not just about the body or trying to lose weight, or I didn't even have a goal. All I wanted was to really do something and stick to it. Because for me, in terms of my mindfulness, I'm so easily distracted, Kaylin. And I really want to really hold on to something and follow it and see it through till the end. And this program really did help me with that. So I want to tell you, thank you so, so very much for that.
But you're very welcome.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you were able to see those effects. And I just have to tell you, you're not alone. Right?
I know that for sure.
Think about the mind, right? Many of us, where I guess our minds, that's what our mind is supposed to do, right? It's supposed to think.
Yeah.
And it's one of our best aspects. That's where our creative ideas come from. That's where we solve problems. So we don't want our mind to stop. But sometimes it just goes a little bit too much.
Yep.
And for me, as you said, my passion is about that nourishing the body, mind, and it's about the fact that we are all three aspects, and we often ignore one aspect or the other.
Correct.
But I do think mindfulness is the core, because when we are mindful, and mindfulness simply means being awake to what is happening in the present moment. So it's a very simple concept, but we're often not doing it because we're often kind of still holding on to things that happened in the past,
That is
or
so true.
anticipating or getting about something that's going to happen in the future. And that takes us away from the present moment.
Correct.
And it's in those thoughts that we sometimes feel stressed out, and so we stress eat, right? And because we're not present, we're not even connecting with the signs and symptoms in our body that is telling us it needs something, right? We get so caught up in what our mind is doing that we forget that there's a whole spiritual side of us. And if we were to kind of tune into and nourish that side of us, then we wouldn't have many stresses. So it's really about nurturing all three, but I feel that the mindfulness is really a powerful thing for us to be able to nurture and to get experience in practicing.
I would agree with that because I remembered in my younger years, there are things that, of course, with everybody, there are things that you'll remember from your younger years, and those would have been more so either a very traumatic experience or one that's very pleasurable, right?
Yes.
But the regular day-to-day running, sometimes we don't even remember those things. Because I was saying there's a part of my life growing up I do not remember. I honestly don't remember who I was, what I was doing around that time. And for me to connect those dots, or to take the time to connect those dots, because to me, you have to go back in time to understand who you were to bring you to your present now. And I'm like, the time that I'm taking to do that. And if I don't sit down in the present moment and say, hey, whatever the past was, this is what caused me to be who I am today. And the fact that I get anxious is because I'm wondering what could happen in the future. But really and truly, if I really just think about what's happening right now, how I feel right now, it doesn't have to be happy, it doesn't have to be positive, but acknowledge how you are right now, then you're able to train your thoughts. Because people always say to me, saying, how you could have 4 conversations in one conversation? How is this even possible? I said, because my mind is literally just going all the time. I would be looking at someone, looking straight through them, because my mind, in different compartments, we're having different conversations.
Yeah, and that's very natural, and we're in this habit of this fast-paced world where we're multitasking, we're doing so many things at once, and we're responding to the ding of the phone, or something, some other stimulus that we're responding to all the time. And so our mind is, it adapts, right? And so a lot of things you do on autopilot, you don't even realize that it's happening. And you're right, we miss a lot of really simple, beautiful moments, beautiful experiences, because we're so anxious to get on to the next thing.
Yes.
Even if you think about our own wins, our successes, and I talk a lot about celebrating these successes, acknowledging ourselves, patting ourselves on the back, right? Because we're like, we reached one goal and we're already thinking about goal number 2 and goal number 10. Right? And we haven't even taken a chance to celebrate this one.
That's right.
Right? When you look back, of course you're not going to remember.
This is so true.
You didn't pause and give yourself time to think about it, to appreciate the moment. I think that kids are our greatest teachers when it comes to mindfulness. You look at them, they get sad, they cry, and they get over it.
That's right.
Then they're back to normal, playing with you. They're mad at you, right? They get vexed. They come, they hit you, slap. And then the next 2 minutes, they're giving you hugs and kisses because they're over it. They're not playing this whole story in my head of, how could he do this to me? How could she do this to me?
I wonder if they love me.
Exactly. Or I'm not good enough that I did this. So many stories that we play in our heads, and children are really good at just being mindful. This is what I feel right now, and that's okay. And allowing it to pass and to move on to the next experience. So children actually do remember some of those small moments in childhood. I'm sure if you talk to your children, there were some small moments that they will remember that you'll be like, what are they talking about?
It's so true.
Right? Because
So true.
you were busy doing 10 other things, but they were fully present in that moment. And
Mhm.
since I've been practicing, I mean, small things that I notice flowers,
Absolutely.
in a neighbor's garden that goes over my driveway. I'm like, was that there all the time, or they just plan this because I
Yeah.
never saw it before?
Before. Hmm.
So there's things that you'll just stop and notice, and even just pausing to notice the sunset, those little things.
Mm.
I think of how many years I would have just been driving home during the sunset and still
Thinking about what you're going home to cook, right?
replaying day. Well, or replaying my work day and
Yes.
all the things that I left on my to-do list that I didn't get a chance to finish,
Hmm.
right? Or as you said, thinking about what you have to cook, thinking
Yeah.
about, so many other things, and we're missing that moment.
I know
And
the
life is
song.
really precious.
Since I lost my job in 2016, you're not going at the pace that you were going before. I mean, it didn't happen overnight that I'm thinking the way that I'm thinking now. I was very depressed, very stressed out, and I'm like, oh my God, how could this happen to me?
Mhm.
And then my friend would be like, and why not you? You're not the only person this happened to. So, and even the things that you would be doing, going all the time. And I'm like, I never noticed these things before. And then people would say to me, you look so uptight. You're so fidgety. And it's only when people point these things out to me, it's when I started to be more conscious of it. And so I said, it's time to slow down. And
Yes.
now, after I finish my radio show on a morning, which gives me life, by the way, because sometimes I would be like, I don't want to get up this early this morning. I don't want to go. I really don't want to go on radio. And I'm like, by the time I get there, it's all over. From the time
Yes.
I say good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, it's all over. And so I said, this is part of my purpose. I really do feel good doing it. It helps me, and hopefully it helps my listeners as well. But by the time I leave my studio in that pumped way, I feel as though I could take on the world, but I have time on my hands now. So when I get home, I take my time to prepare something to eat. I take my time to read through certain things. I take my time. I'm actually taking my time. I'm not rushing anymore. And I remembered at some point in time, I was told, you rush to do so many different things, but you get nothing done.
Yeah.
And I
Exactly.
really was uptight, Kaylin. I was so uptight when I feel so different now. And with doing that detox and cleanse over the last 21 days as well, you found that I was more conscious of what I'm eating because that's what the program was about. And looking at that, I'm saying, but wait, if I could be conscious about what I'm putting into my body and actually feeling the difference, it wasn't about, okay, I want to lose weight and that I didn't see the weight lost, but I'm actually feeling better. I had energy that I didn't have for years. And it's all about making up your mind to do it. Um,
Yes, and I would just say, I mean, I think there might be some listeners out there that feel like, okay, I've made up my mind. I've made up my mind 100 times before, and
yeah,
somehow I was not able to do it,
and it
right?
happens. It happens.
Yes, because
Hmm.
sometimes we know we want to do it intuitively in our heart. We know that it's good for us.
Yes,
We want to do it. We know we should slow down. We know we're taking on too much on our plates. We know we should learn to say no. We know we should fill our cup first. And in fact, we give other people this advice, right? We love to tell
exactly.
other people, right? You can't
Exactly.
pour from an empty cup. You have to put on
Hmm.
your oxygen mask first. We know all the sayings and we know what we should be doing. It's not as always as easy to do,
Right,
right? So if anybody's out there who's listening who feels that way, don't feel like I just don't have the willpower to be able to
right.
stick to it like you were able to stick to it. I think it really makes a difference when you have guidance and support,
Correct.
right? I have to
That was
say,
the major thing. That was the major part of it. Because if you wanted to embark on that by yourself, it would have been a little, some people would do it because their minds are probably stronger. But for me, things like that, like you see, exercising and stuff, I need support. I need company for that.
yeah, and sometimes you reach rock bottom, right? You get a
Yeah.
diagnosis,
Oh,
or somebody else in your family gets a diagnosis, and so you
yeah.
start to pay attention to how you are
Correct.
feeling, right? There might be a wake-up call for you that makes you want to do it, or really a deep desire to kind of live a longer, healthier life so that you can be around your kids and so on. I mean, that was my personal story. I just really was sick and tired and did not have the energy. My daughter was a toddler at the time when I decided to step on my health journey, and I just, I had nothing left when I came home from work. And she would ask for me to read another story, and I'll be like, oh, I can't read another story. I just couldn't do it. And so that really is what kind of got me going. So I think that, sometimes you can make the change on your own. But if you feel like I've been trying to and I want to, but I haven't been able to, then, a different approach might be making sure that you get that support. And then the other thing when it comes to your mind is really thinking about, I think sometimes in our mind, we have both sides playing at the same time. We have the side of us that wants to do it and the side of us that thinks that we're going to fail.
Yes, very true. Very
I won't be able to stick with it, or it's too hard, and I don't like to exercise. And so you remember, your brain is actually wired to protect you from danger, right? That's our survival instinct. So it's going to kind of amplify anything negative, right? To protect you from that, and try to seek pleasure. And so if you're telling yourself, this is hard, I'm not going to be able to do it, then that's going to win over, yes, I should exercise. We like to say this word should, right? I'm going to start next month, right? I'm going to start on Monday, right? We like to start on a Monday. And so that's not strong enough to the other part of you that's saying, but Kaylin, you tried this already. And you know what happened the last time? You fell right back off the wagon. It lasted only a week. And so we start to tell ourselves these things, and we almost are so afraid of failing that we don't even try. And that's where mindfulness comes in, because those thoughts are playing in the background. We're not conscious of those thoughts. They're playing in the background, but they affect.
So how do you, is there a particular process then that you follow through with, that you bring yourself into that current state of mind? Because it's something that happens all the time, as you just said. They're constantly playing on each other all the time, and it's if you have the willpower, and not all of us have the willpower to do it the first time or the second time or even the 15th time. we'll keep trying over and over and over and saying, I'm going to start. Even when the approach to anything at all, because even sometimes with your studies, you'd be like, oh gosh, so much is going on. I can't do this right now. I'm so guilty of that.
Idea. Many things that we hold ourselves back from, right? But we want to know, we want to do, right? I mean, for you starting this podcast, I think this is great, but how long did you think about it before? Exactly. How long did you think about it before you actually did it? Right? And those dreams we have inside of us, right? And sometimes it is, as you say, it is our purpose to fulfill. And so we are almost doing the world a disservice by not stepping into our purpose and doing the things that we are meant to do. But mindfulness really is a practice, right? We always say mindfulness practice because it's an ongoing practice. We're never fully mindful. There's a formal practice that you do that I think is really powerful, where you actually carve out some time, and it could be as short as 5 minutes.
Right.
It could be whatever is convenient for you, but you can start 5-10 minutes, and you actually do a practice where you are focusing your attention on the present moment. So we use what we call a body scan, which is focusing your attention on sensations in the body, right? Because your body and what you're feeling in this moment is only what you could feel right now. You can't feel the temperature in the next 5 minutes, right? You can't feel, exactly your position was 5 minutes ago, right? You have to be in the present moment. We also use the breath, right? Because the breath is a great metaphor for this mindfulness practice, because again, you can't hold on to the last breath. You can't anticipate the next breath. The only breath you can feel is this current breath.
Right now. Wow.
This breath this breath you could feel. You can't feel the next one.
Right.
And so it's, focusing on the breath, you always have that with you. And then focusing on anything else. So you can focus on sounds. You can focus on things that you're seeing around you. You can focus on sense. So it's really about focusing on what your experience is in the present moment.
In the present moment, okay.
Yeah, and so it's based on experience, not based on a thought. Because a lot of times we're in our thoughts, we're in our head, right? And this is taking us out of the head into the body, which is where we're actually experiencing this life.
Have you ever had an experience? Because I'm telling you now, I tried to do it over the last few days, and it wasn't every day. Because sometimes just before I go on air, I would just sit for a few moments, just close my eyes and try to be in the moment.
Yes.
But I literally feel like I'm falling. I start to feel like everything is just coming down. I'm like, what is happening? And immediately the thought will be like, okay, snap out of it. So I don't really immerse myself in the moment.
Yes. Yes. And so, yes, so that is, so sometimes, right, it's about our ability to allow things to be as they are.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's the reality in life. We spend a lot of time getting stressed out about things that we have no control over.
Right.
And the pandemic is a great example.
Correct.
Right? We get stressed out about whether school is going to open, if it's going to be in person or not in person.
If you're going to have your job still.
Whether they're going to open the beach or close the beach.
Yes.
We get stressed out when we see other people not wearing their mask. Right? So a lot of things we get ourselves flustered about, things that we don't have. And again, the practice is about allowing things to be as they are. So again, as you're experiencing that, I'm going to challenge you to just practice being with that experience. So knowing, okay, this is what it feels like, but I know I'm sitting on my chair and I'm perfectly fine, right? You're perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Nothing changed from, 2 minutes before when your eyes were open.
Right.
Nothing in your situation changed. Is that correct?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. You're in a safe space. You're comfortable. So just allowing yourself to be with that experience and just allowing and noticing that it's going to pass. Because again, we have the same thing when we are dealing with big emotions, right? When we're going through something, when we're feeling sad, already we feel like that's going to stay with us forever.
Yeah.
But all emotions, they come and they go just like the weather, right? And experiences do as well. But again, we're not in the habit of allowing things to be, right? We get a headache, we pop a Panadol, right? Because we can't just sit with the headache. We have to do something because we want to do something to fix it.
Right.
But we have to get back to the state of just being, right? And say, I have a headache. Let me see what is it my body really needs. Let me think. Maybe I didn't drink enough water today and it's very hot outside. Maybe I just need some water. I don't need a Panadol.
Exactly.
Oh, I didn't even actually eat lunch and it's 3:00, right?
True.
Maybe I'm hungry, right? And so it's about paying attention and noticing. And so the practice, things like that happen. Your mind is going to get distracted. As I said, that's what the mind does.
Yes.
And so practice is about, okay, I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole where my mind is trying to take me about all the things I have to do today. And, oh gosh, I didn't do this. And right. I'm not going that down. I'm coming back to noticing my breath because that's what I'm doing right now. Right. Then you start to get an itch. You suddenly get an itch in your body because you're not used to sitting quiet, right? So your body is comfortable. You can't sit still.
So true.
Right? All those are just distractions, and it's about practicing to notice them.
Right.
But not squash them either. We're not trying to repress emotions or repress the feelings. So notice that it's happening, but making a choice whether we adjust our position, making a choice whether I want to continue that thought or I want to come back to my practice knowing that I'm going to come back afterwards and continue that thought. And if you're really scared sometimes with the thoughts, sometimes I get a great idea in the middle of my mindfulness. And if I really am scared that I forget it, then I stop and I write it down.
Okay, right.
Right? So it's like, okay, it's there. So I'm not going to forget it. I don't have to worry about, okay, let me keep it in my mind because that's a really good idea, right? I don't want to forget that idea.
And then you'll end up being distracted if you were to think about that only. Yes.
You're distracted by that. And so that's why I said it's a practice. right? And the more you practice it, the more that you're able to allow yourself to feel those emotions. And what you might actually be experiencing, that whole feeling that you're falling, is really that whole sensation of your body actually relaxing.
Relaxing. So then
Right?
it actually told me that, but wait, you're uptight. You're tense. You're tense.
Yeah.
So that was my next question now.
And it feels uncomfortable for you because it's
Yeah,
not, this is a different state. I'm not accustomed to being in this state. So it feels,
exactly. Especially when you think that you're relaxed, but yet when you're doing this thing now and you're feeling like, what is happening? Because I literally feel like my body is being peeled to the sofa. I'm
yes,
like, what? And I was like, okay, something is happening. And then I will snap out of it.
right.
So it's kind of scary. But, sometimes you just said, let's go a little extra and see what happens with it.
Yeah. And sometimes that self-talk, telling yourself, I'm fine. I'm on my couch. I'm on the chair. All is well.
I've realized that a lot of persons are getting into that way now because, as one of my ex-colleagues would say, the vicissitudes of life, they're really overwhelming now. And a lot of people, and I'm so happy to see that we have a lot of coaches like yourself, with the programs, doing it and encouraging other people. And you're not just doing it as a profession, but you're doing it because it is who you are. I'm seeing a lot of people taking it upon themselves to find people like you to help them along the journey, that process, because we've realized, and I said, COVID is phenomenal. It's really destroying a lot of lives and in a certain type of way, but it's also building people up because you recognize the strength. It's building character as well, because things that we may not have been thinking about in the past, you realize now, hey, I could do this. I was telling one of my guests the other day that I'm seeing families now spending more time together.
Exactly.
And these are the things that really help you to get your mind settled, because you realize you don't have to be rushing the almighty dollar,
Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
almighty dollar might very well disappear just now.
You can actually practice mindfulness even when you're rushing,
Yes.
right? If you're aware that you're rushing, and
Yeah.
just bringing that awareness to it slows you down just a little bit, right? It
Also
slows you down.
it also helps you to get more creative in dealing with situations, because things that you may not even have thought of before, you see them, it's like, hey, I could have done it this way. And then you
Right.
feel so good to know that you chose another way of doing it and you got an even better result,
Yes.
you know?
Important to bring into that autopilot reaction, because a
Yeah.
lot of times we feel the way that we react is the only way,
Mm-hmm.
right? This person said this to me, I must respond that way. And we see it on social media.
Yes.
Oh, someone has a different opinion, this is what I need to do, and I need to write a whole long paragraph about what it is, why they are so wrong.
Yeah.
And so we feel like that's the only solution, right?
Mhm.
Because it's automatic, right?
Right.
Mindfulness creates a space, a pause between when we're triggered, whatever is triggering us, and our reaction.
Right.
So we can choose how
Mhm.
we want to react,
Hmm.
right? So it doesn't mean that you're going to just, you can still be firm with people. There's some situations that's still going to require a firm response,
Mhm.
but it's not the automatic response that you will see, for example, when with road rages, so he cuts them off and then they turn on their window and they cuss, right? That's like an automatic
Yes.
reaction, but it's a choiceful response.
Yeah.
And I think that really makes a big difference, because a lot of our actions are those autopilot. And when we realize how much we have a choice in, how
Hmm.
many things that we can choose if we give ourselves that space and that
Right.
time to choose what we want to do, that we're not kind of just subject to our emotions in a
Mhm.
situation.
Mhm. Because I found funny you should mention road rages, because I was definitely one of those who would turn my window down and a bust a cuss on somebody. But I was like, no, now I turn my music up, my windows are up, and I just take my time. If somebody gives me a bad drive, you just slow down, let them go, you go, you go.
I say a
Be
prayer.
the one to rush up on them and say, no, you're not passing here today, and when you teach them a lesson. And
I
it has
say
you
a
feeling
prayer.
so, you know who taught me that? My children. They'll be like, Mommy, but they can't hear you.
Exactly. As I said, our children are great mindfulness teachers. Great mindfulness teachers.
And even yesterday, I called up my son because he didn't call me the day before. In fact, he ignored my call the day before. So I am like, what is wrong with this child? Normally I'll get upset when I call him up and he was giving me, teenagers. They'll be like, oh gosh, Mommy, what you want now? I said, first of all, that's not the way to address me. And secondly, I'm just calling to see how you're doing. When you get a chance, you call me back. Him, no, I'm up. But it's the approach that I used. It was calmer and everything.
Right.
And I got him to actually stay on the phone with me. We had a beautiful conversation for more than an hour yesterday.
Yeah, because sometimes we lose sight of our objective, which is your objective was really to connect with your son.
Correct.
Right? And had you gotten defensive, right, which again wouldn't be planned, it wouldn't be your choice.
Right.
It would have been an automatic reaction because
Yeah.
of how you responded, right? So
Yes.
you got hurt, right?
Yeah.
And again, it went from a place and you were just hurt by his response, and so you react. And then you actually miss the opportunity.
Yeah.
Them.
Yeah.
Right? And so you don't actually get your needs met either. So both of you come off the phone upset, right?
And I still was able, I had the opportunity to tell him that it's not okay to not connect with me during the day. So he understood that. So bright and early after class today, I got a phone call. Nice. Mommy, how was your day today?
Right.
And I was like, whoa, look at how it is so important to really try to do things differently. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, I never would have thought that it would work. But I said, let me just try because I'm really, really trying to be at peace with everybody. I mean, it can't be like that every day. No, there are some people who will get caught. But and even with that, I'm trying to really temper it, my reaction to certain things. Some of my friends are like, who is this person? Who is this person? Where's Celine? I was like, no, I'm cool. I'm really cool. And I like to say that I'm cool and mean it.
Right, exactly. Yes, this is not I'm biting my tongue.
Yeah,
I'm not biting my tongue. It's because I am really not allowing this to ruffle my feathers
and
choosing to be in a more positive state.
Yeah.
And that, again, that's a choice. That's a choice we make every day. I wake up every day and choose to be in a positive state. I choose to be in a beautiful state. Does it mean that all day, every day I am? No. But I set that intention in the morning. Right? I set that intention in the morning, and I'm very conscious about doing the things that are going to keep me in that beautiful state. So doing my mindfulness practice, doing yoga, getting outside, right? Having something healthy to eat. I do the things that are going to support that.
Right. Okay.
Right? Am I still triggered? Absolutely. Absolutely.
We're human after all.
Yes.
Yeah.
But how can you, kind of use that to get yourself back into a positive emotional state? Use that as a lesson to understand, what is it about this that's triggering me? Is this something that I need to work on? Is this a fear that I have? Is this, what is working underneath the surface of that immediate reaction? Or is it that I just really have something, a need that's not being met, that I need to make sure I fulfill this need? Because again, sometimes we are expecting other people to fill needs in ourselves that we should be filling. And then we get upset when they don't deliver.
When they don't,
and that's an unrealistic expectation. We have such high standards for the people that we love the most.
Oh my gosh, you preach there.
So it's something to be conscious of, and really, for me, it's something I'm mindful of. As I said, it takes constant practice, and when I feel myself kind of unraveling, I kind of get back into a quiet space and say, okay, what have I not been doing? Oh, you know what? I've been really busy this week and I haven't touched base with my friends, and talking to friends and friendships is something that makes me feel good. So I haven't been doing enough of that. That awareness of ourselves, because often we go through life and we go to school and we get a job and we do all the things that we're supposed to do or they told us will bring us happiness or success or we kind of go through that. I mean, I spent 20 years as a banker before I
Wow.
started along this path. And I did love my job as a banker. I did enjoy it, but it never brought me the level of passion that I get from my job now. And I also didn't feel, it's for me, an important need is to feel like I'm serving others.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I didn't have that when,
Yeah.
working in a big corporation and working on big deals. I didn't feel like, who am I helping with this?
Right.
Right. And so, it really, even though it was challenging and mentally stimulating, and I have great friends that I met along the path, it wasn't what was my purpose.
Right.
And so practicing mindfulness, I really got to the place where I was like, what am I doing with my life? Why
Hmm.
am I here? Right? Spending all this time in a job and I don't have any energy or time left for my own daughter.
I love
Right?
that
And
you're able to make that distinction and do something about it. That's incredible. That is
yeah,
incredible.
but I mean, I think it's also for me, again, this time back in the spiritual side now. For
Okay.
me, I had gotten a really clear directive
Hmm.
from God. That
Wow.
yeah, that now is the time that you need to
Hmm.
do it. And I actually left my job not knowing what I was going to do.
Oh.
I didn't know. It's not like I left knowing that, or I didn't even, actually, when I left my job, I did not even know what a health coach was.
Hmm.
So I didn't even know. So I didn't even have that as my path. I just thought I'll get an easier job,
Right.
another 5, but one where I could be done at 5 and then that's it.
Right.
And yeah, this path it was almost like, you take one step in
Hmm.
faith and then, the path was just opened up in front of me.
My
And really,
experience is actually pretty similar to that. I mean, because I kept saying, I have to leave my job, I have to leave my job. But that saying, you keep kicking the tin up the road because you're
yes,
comfortable. You're
yes,
comfortable where you are. It's paying the bills, it's doing this,
yes,
it's doing that. And
yeah,
it would take God saying, oh, you're not going to do it on your own. Okay, I'll show you. Because I was planning to leave the following year. And he said, no, you have to do it now and
yes,
by my way. So he made sure that I lost my job. I had no choice but to leave.
yeah,
And that
yeah,
is when my journey started in terms of getting in tune with who Celine is. In
yeah,
terms of, I mean, it was hard, Kaylon. It was hard. There will be days I will be crying nonstop. So many changes I had to make in my life. I had to downsize. I had to give up my apartment and take somewhere smaller. My kids had to move in with their dad because, of course, I don't have that level of income anymore. It's so many changes I had to make. And of course, with your kids, they spent their first 11 years with me. And now they have to go by their dad to live, even though I'm still very much involved in their lives. I'm there every single day, looking, checking up on them, homework, and all of that, and having the conversations every day. But I felt inadequate as a mother.
of course,
How you could let this happen to you? So
yeah.
I went through that period of self-pity and blaming myself. I felt the worst, as people would say, you will feel lower than the white line in the road. I
But I'm glad you brought that up though, Celine, because,
mm,
I think a lot of people hear stories and they feel like it's just easy,
no, it's
right?
not.
Especially when I say that, God told me to do it, it's like, oh, it was an easy change. No, it wasn't. And you do have to go through that grieving
Mhm.
process, right? And I mean, if you think about it, we only grow through struggle.
Oh
We don't
yeah.
grow when
Yeah.
things are easy,
Yeah.
right? So really to see who you are,
Hmm.
right? You have to go through some difficulties,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's also a part of life.
Yes.
Life is ups and downs,
Mm.
which again comes back to the whole point of mindfulness. We need to really enjoy the ups,
Yes.
right? Because sometimes we don't even the ups, and when we're down, we get stuck in the down, but we don't even appreciate the fact that we had the ups.
Yeah.
But I
Exactly.
think we also appreciate the downs, and like, again, not appreciating every moment. But again,
Right.
allowing yourself to feel the emotions, but appreciating it for what it brings,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
opportunity to grow, the
Correct.
opportunity to learn new lessons. So one of the things I had to learn was learning to ask for help, you know? And
Girlfriend. Oh my gosh. Yes.
you know so all of those things, those are important lessons to learn,
Hmm.
and they really only happen in the downs.
Hmm.
And it's not every day is not going to be a sunny day, but know that even if it's a storm, a hurricane, right?
Whatever it is.
It is going to blow over. It never rains forever.
That is
It
so
is
true.
going to stop one day. The
That is
clouds are
so
going to
true.
part, and there will be a bright, brilliant sun once again,
Mm-hmm.
right? So just knowing that it's going to come, and
Correct.
sometimes it takes faith, and when you're in it, it feels like this is never going to end. I'm
But that
never
is
going to
the
get over it.
time that you hear that voice.
Yes.
And my mantra is be still and know that I am God, because he has shown up so
Yeah.
many times in different scenarios. I would always talk about this story. One day I'm driving down the road, tears in my eyes, because I'm like, oh God, I can't take this anymore. I really can't. And this old brogadon car, Caleb, if you see the car, it's falling apart. He has no right being on the road. But across his windscreen, there was "This too shall pass" written on it. Oh my
Yes.
God, I belong the place even more,
Yes.
because I'm like, how does he know to send the messages in the right time?
Yeah.
But the only way you will recognize these things is if you really channel your thoughts into, you leave yourself open for those kinds
Yes.
of messages.
Yes.
And of
Yes.
course, the support of friends and family, because they are the friends and family that I have, my support group. Not that they were there all the time, like in your face, but somehow they will just know.
Yeah.
And I could say that you recognize the pillars in your life, and we really you cannot go through life alone. And I
Yes.
really feel it for people who are lonely, who don't have anyone to support them or to fall back on. And that is why sometimes I will seek these people out and try to render some assistance. And one of my callers, he calls every single morning and he says, I just need to hear your voice. I just
Yeah.
need to talk to you so that I
Yeah.
will know I will be all right.
Yes. Exactly. So
But
that's it.
sometimes,
That's a purpose. That's a purpose you are
sometimes
fulfilling,
the help is not monetary all the
No.
time. And it's not even there physically. A
Yeah.
phone call, and
Yes.
I am amazed by how people um could talk about things like that and acknowledge it. And these are the things that helped me realize, but wait, okay, you don't have money, but you're still serving a purpose in other people's lives.
There was a Harvard study that was done over 75 years. So it's one of
Mm-hmm.
the longest human longevity studies.
Mm-hmm.
And they said one of the most important factors to living a long, healthy, happy life is
Yeah.
at least one non-judgmental human relationship. Right?
Wow.
So that ranked above eating healthy food, that ranked above not smoking, that ranked above exercise,
Wow.
right? It's having that because we are human beings
Mm-hmm.
and we thrive on connection. And
Mm-hmm.
I think there are a lot of people out there who are lonely. And I could say this because I was one of them,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was lonely only because I made myself lonely, right? I had a lot of people out there that I chose not to reach
Not
out
to
to,
go out too.
right?
Yeah.
I had this I would say I didn't share myself with people because I think that's another thing. We have this persona, this mask that we put
Yep.
on, and so we don't like to let people into our world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's really Brené Brown has done a lot of work on this, on shame and really about sharing our story. But I think
Okay.
especially for women, it is so powerful when we share our stories because one, we realize that we are not alone. So many things I talked about here, you were able to relate to, right? So many
Yeah.
stories that other people could connect with, and
Mm-hmm.
they don't feel alone. But it's also this thing of feeling that we have to be a superwoman and do everything for ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's about sometimes knowing that we can ask for that help,
Yeah.
right? So the help is there if we really were to think about it. And it's something I ask my clients all the time, when they say that they don't have a safety net, they don't have a support network,
Mm-hmm.
they don't really have close friends.
Hmm.
They're there. It's just that they don't want to share the vulnerable sides of them, which is
Exactly.
why I love this podcast that you're doing. I
Yeah.
love the title. I love that you're so honest and open and
Mm,
authentic because these are the kinds of conversations we need to be having. These are
exactly.
healing, these are powerful conversations.
Yes, indeed. Because there are so many people that They don't know how to open up, as you were just saying. They don't even know how to.
Yeah.
You know, somebody will be standing in front of you saying, I'm here to help you, and they don't know how to. I found myself in that situation one time with my really good friend, Wendy. And she says, it's either yes or no. What are you so afraid of? I said, I have always been afraid of being rejected
Yes.
because I've gone through rejection in different areas of my life, both from growing up. My dad, I felt rejected by my father because he didn't really perform the role of father, you know, in the home. So you had that feeling of rejection. And then the first boyfriend I had, I felt rejected by that. So I am very cautious with relationships now. I don't even know, the last time I was in a relationship was 15 years ago. I date people, but I don't have a relationship. And so I am so afraid of rejection. You would have sent out applications for things that you really wanted to, jobs that you really wanted to do, and you would hear no. So I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm not
Yeah.
doing this because I don't want to hear another no. And she said,
Yeah.
but this is life. You're going to hear no. What are you going to do with the no? Are you going to shut down, or are you going to just take that no and find a different strategy, find a different way around it?
Yeah. So that's a great friend to have,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yes.
Right. To call you out and to help you to see,
Yes.
right? Because I think awareness is the first step. So you're
Mhm.
already aware of this fear,
Yes.
right? And I think sometimes one of the things, I forget where I learned this, somewhere along the way.
Mhm.
But one of the things that I learned about those things that we fear the most is to almost to be the other side, right?
Mm.
You fear rejection, but
Mhm.
kind of put yourself out there for people and stand
Right.
up for people and just to see,
Yep.
what it feels like to be on the other side,
Yep.
so it just might be something to try and see.
Exactly. It
But
sounds.
knowing it is good, and knowing that you are okay
Mhm.
just as yourself, complete and whole just as you are.
Yes.
So, and it's okay that other people have different experiences, they have different needs, right? People might come and go in your life.
Mhm.
There's another saying that I like, whatever comes, let it comes. Whatever stays, let it stays.
All
Let it
right.
stay. Whatever goes, let
Let
it
it
go.
go. Yeah.
That's it.
Because you have
You
no
know?
control over it.
No, and enjoy the experience.
Mhm.
It's our responsibility to really figure out our purpose and start
Correct.
walking in that purpose, right? Because we all have a role to serve each other.
That's so true. Oh my God, it's like you're talking inside the heartbeat sunrise. Because I really do try to encourage the listeners, because it's a morning show. I really do try to encourage people in that vein, because it's like this is the first thing you're hearing on a morning. And I want you to go through the rest of your day with these thoughts. So it's all of these kinds of things I talk about. I said, we talk about how Trinidad and Tobago is going to the dogs and people call it a shithole. And I was like, it's not, we are still living in paradise.
Exactly.
We need to get back to our essence of who Trinbagonians are, because we are a people who, it doesn't matter what ethnic background you're from. If you see somebody needs something, you're going to give them something to eat. And we're getting back to those times, so we better find and dig deep and find back that core of who Trinbagonians are, because we're going to need it.
Yeah, and I'm really glad you do that on your show too. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
as somebody who, I mean, I'm glad, again, school's closed. That's been another blessing for me,
Yes.
right? Not
Oh
having
gosh.
to be
Yes.
on the road with the early morning commute. But,
Yes.
so much, sometimes you just hear so much noise and so much negativity. And
Mm-hmm.
again, a lot of people are just taking that in and not even conscious of how is that
Yes.
affecting their mood? How is that affecting their thoughts?
Yes.
Right? Every action has a consequence,
That's
right? Whether it's
true.
conscious or not.
Yep.
And when you fill your day with positive thoughts, you fill your day with appreciation and gratitude.
Yeah.
You really look at your family and you think, oh my God, I'm so blessed. They're such blessings. So yes, they
Mhm.
made a mess, right? Yes, they're not settling down to do their schoolwork,
Yes.
right? They didn't wash the dishes, things, yes. And yes, it's our job as parents to, teach them, how to be responsible people, grow up to be responsible adults. But, it's one thing doing that from a place of pure gratitude and appreciation for who they are right now, where they are, right? Even if they didn't do their work, even if they didn't take out the garbage, right? And really getting in that positive mindset. It's a choice and a conscious decision that we have to make. And some days it's going to be harder. As you're saying right now, it's, if your bank account is empty, right? And, rent is coming due, it's the 28th, right? So you have those challenges. But still, as you say, there might be blessings in between that you can really focus on.
And sometimes when you really let things go and you say to yourself, you know what, I'm not going to stress over this today, somehow you get a phone call or some other opportunity arises, and I'm always in awe because I'm like, you are always on time. Oh my gosh.
Remember, this happened before the pandemic. It may have happened last year. And I'd done my budgets, right? It was a pretty tight month, right? I'd done my budget and worked out everything to like the last cent. I was like, oh my gosh, it's perfectly balanced. Then I remembered I did not fact my phone and my internet, right? Two essentials that I need for work.
Exactly.
So I'm like, okay, where do I get any money from for that? And as I asked that question, I opened my mailbox and I had a health insurance claim.
Whoa.
For almost the exact money. It was like short by like $1 or something like that. Right? So it just covered exactly what I needed.
Things like that make you really feel to shout to the heavens because it's like, yo, what is happening?
Exactly. So it's a lot of trust. It's a lot of trust and faith.
Even in these situations when things are not working out, you say, okay, maybe this is not for me right now.
Yes.
Yeah, because I've had situations like that, it's like, but I need to pay this now. I need to see about this right now. Even, me and my car. So I'm like, oh gosh, this car is calling for this again. And look how this thing is making this noise. I can't drive the car making a noise. And yet you make it just in time for when you get that money to fix it. And everything is hunky-dory again. So it's literally about trust.
It is about trust.
So in the moment when something is not working out, you say, okay, maybe now is not the time.
Right. But again, mindfulness helps us to notice, right, that we're getting stressed out over this situation, right? Because remember, our autopilot reaction is going to take over in that moment, right? And for us to be able to pause and say, oh no, what I need to do is I need to come back to trust. I need to come back and step into my feet in this moment, right? So again, it's that awareness, because the autopilot takes over so easily, right? So those of us who are accustomed worrying, right, we worry about everything. And I even see some poems on Facebook in groups where people are, worried about, they went to the doctor and the doctor said X, but somebody else is saying Y. Like, why are you worried about that, right? You went to not only one doctor, you went to two doctors. I saw a post today. They went to two doctors, but somebody's giving a different opinion. You already got two doctors' opinions.
Wow.
Still stressing about that, just
and causing more damage. If you stress over it.
Exactly, because they're stressing over these things. So a lot of times we are creating a lot of our own stress based on the thoughts that we have. And so being able to come out of our thoughts, again, come back into the body, come back into the present moments, create that little space between stimulus, trigger, and our, then we can say, oh yes, I have nothing to worry about. Right? Let me let that go. It's not serving me to hold on to that thought right now. Let me choose a more positive thought.
Oh, Kaylin Bartholomew, Spirited Natural. Could you share with us where the listeners can find you? Because I'm pretty certain you're going to be getting some calls, and where yes, of course, on social media and stuff where they can follow you to get some more information about what you do on a daily basis.
All right. Thanks so much. So I'm on both Facebook and Instagram at Spirited Natural. I do have an open Facebook group on Facebook called Nourishment for Your Body, Heart, and Mind, where I will share tips on both diet, exercise, but a lot on mindfulness and staying present and choosing our thoughts. So little notes of inspiration, and I encourage participants there to also share their goals, their wellness goals, so other people can support them, because it's really about creating that space, that community where we can support each other and encourage each other and inspire with our stories. So a safe space where you can open and share as well. So that's really where you can find me. I'm also on LinkedIn, but those are that's where you'll find me primarily on social media.
Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Yes. Thank you so much, Celine, for this opportunity. It was really great to have this discussion with you. I really enjoy being able to share this tool of mindfulness, because personally for me, it's really transformed my life, the way I see everything. And I really feel very strongly about it. And it's still a little bit wary about and worry about whether it's something that they can actually take on. And so I really encourage your listeners, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to share more on the topic. I also run a mindfulness program online, which is also just a way to deepen your practice and do some of this reflection that you are doing on your own, Celine. But sometimes people need a little bit of guidance to be able to go deep and really get to tuning back into themselves, to their own hearts, right? Because we're all unique. And you have a purpose here, and life is not about just getting by. It's about thriving and feeling joy and enjoying this experience of living. So thank you so much for the opportunity. And
thank you for taking the time to share with us as well. It was a very, very beautiful conversation and fulfilling as well. So thank you so much for that, Kaylin.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Practicing mindfulness is something that we definitely need to be intentional about, and you have to be ready for it. So I hope that this episode really helped you to put yourself into that space where you'll be ready for that, or even if you are already in that space, that it helped to seal off what you've already been doing, to confirm what you've already been doing. I kind of feel good because I realize that I'm on the right path. So I really, really feel good for that. And the conversation with Kaylin was so beneficial. It was so inspiring as well. And we thank you for that, Kaylin. Also making the choice to choose you in every situation. And it's not necessarily something that's selfish, but you have to choose you because, of course, if you're not sound and happy and all of these good things, then you cannot possibly share yourself authentically with others. So always make sure to choose you first before you give yourself to others. And of course, making changes for purpose. Sometimes life calls us to make some drastic changes. You heard Kaylin say that she literally left her job. I lost mine so that I would be able to find my purpose. Always trust the process. You never know what is in store for you. And more so in these times with COVID, it's important that you share yourself. You open up to someone that you trust, or people that you trust, or you be that person that people trust. These times are really, really challenging, and that human connection, that trusting human connection is what is very, very important for us to survive in these times that we're in right now. So I urge you, take a moment for you. Take a moment to really be present with your mindfulness. Thank you so much for listening to us in the Naked Podcast. And of course, I always enjoy getting naked with you guys. And of course, you can drop your comments, give us some feedback on the Saline Solution Facebook page, or you can check out Instagram, The Saline Solution, Saline G. I always love to hear from you. So continue to send those comments, give us your feedback. And of course, thank you to Cam Productions for editing for us each and every episode. Always remember, guys, be a good human. That's all that makes us